Joseph,
And I'm Nick.
and this is Fish Jelly.
Uh-huh.
How are you?
I'm fine. Just a little discombobulated, but fine.
Because you returned from Berlin yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Your flight situation was interesting.
Mm-hmm. Because I missed my early morning flight out of Berlin because the security at the Brandenburg airport is wow. I haven't had a security experience like that in a long time. But
So
yes.
that airport is new,
Yeah, I think it opened during the pandemic, but it was a long time coming from what I understand.
and you had mentioned something I had never heard of, but people were telling you that you should make an appointment to get through security.
Yeah, you have the ability, and I thought nothing of it because I'm like, don't need to do that. I also had a early morning flight, um, but yeah, you can make an appointment. It's called the Berlin Roadway or something like that. I saw signage for it, and then they have different, like say 5 different portals for everybody else to go through, but not all of those are open all the time. If it hits a certain limit, they will close that portal and make everybody go down to the next one. Uh,
Okay, I have a quick question though. If the airport knows that they have flights with X number of passengers, then they know every single passenger has to get through security.
mhm.
So they should already have a very good roadmap
Oh
of
no.
what the traffic will be like. So first of all, why? How can you not be prepared? It's not like a hotel where we know we have 2,200 check-ins today. We just don't know when they're arriving. For an airport, we know exactly when people are
It
arriving.
was so of course was stuck in this security line, which the kicker is it wasn't even really that long. There were maybe 40 people in front of me, but each person took 10, sometimes longer, 15 minutes to get them through. I'm not kidding, because uh the only one person, maybe two, but usually only one person could unpack their stuff at once. And then it had to be gone over by someone in person to make sure everything looked good. And almost everybody, especially these ladies, were getting caught up on not having the right packaging for their liquids. Oh, it was incredibly frustrating. But
So you had to pay to get on a new flight. So
mhm.
thank you to all of the people who are supporting us on Anchor. If you'd like, you
God.
can sponsor us for as little as 99 cents a month. It'll go to help pay for Nick's transfer fees.
Uh-huh.
But we'll talk about your Berlin trip and the winners of is it called the Golden Bear?
Yep, the Golden Bear is the top award.
Oh, but what do they call the award ceremony?
Uh
It's just the Berlin
the
film.
the the award ceremony, I don't know.
But before we get to that, I made you watch the BAFTA performance from Ariana DeBose.
Which I was already aware of because people were talking about it in Berlin.
So after watching it, what did you think?
I thought that we didn't need it. It could have not happened and would have been good for everyone.
I think the same. So well, first of all, it's not well done, and not necessarily because she can't sing or dance. I just think it was a corny
Because she can sing. Yeah,
concept.
it was very corny.
Also, for that crowd, like this stuffy British white crowd where everyone's sitting there, it makes me think of Got to Be Real when Aretha was just sitting there clapping like Patty had just taken her order in the drive-through window, like with no life to them. And then you have this brown lady singing and dancing her little heart out, even doing a rap performance,
Yeah.
which is where the whole Angela Bassett did the thing comes from. It's just so embarrassing. Like, why did they have her out there shucking and driving like that? It wouldn't have been me. Like, I'm not doing this at the BAFTAs. That would have been more appropriate on like SNL. It felt like a skit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ugh. But Ariana DeBose is very talented. So I feel bad that she, got caught up in this bullshit. And then yesterday, the NAACP award, Image Awards occurred, and Angela won an award. And when she got up there, she made reference to, like she says, I guess Angela did the thing. But on the red carpet prior to that, a reporter asked her about it, and she said that she immediately reached out to Ariana, like she DM'd her like on Instagram to make sure she was okay. And Angela said that Ariana is a-okay.
Oh.
So, I guess all press is good press, and
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing bad. It's just
no,
people making fun of her, I
and
guess. That's
if you watch the entire performance, the lady can't sing and
yeah,
dance.
of course she
So
can.
it was just a very poorly put together like performance for a crowd that in an event that it just made no sense. And also she was singing live,
Mhm.
so she sounds winded, and
Mhm.
she probably shouldn't have sang live if she's going to do all that singing and dancing. But
Well, and other who wrote the lyrics to that little rap because that
that's
was
what I mean. It's just so corny.
it's too bad. But I think you know what I feel like that would have played the same at the Oscars, which is also stuffy, overtly white still.
I think it would have made like a fun. Well, I just think it was poorly written. You can't get around it.
Yep.
Like,
Hmm.
the whole sisters are doing it for themselves. I
Hmm.
just thought that was so corny.
Yeah.
Um, I watched a little documentary on the. There was a reunion for the cast of Family Matters,
Oh
the
yeah.
show that people
Hmm.
know probably Steve Urkel from.
Sure.
Anyway, they had the entire cast. And so the thing that stood out to me that kind of bothered me is they're interviewing one of the creators, this white guy, and he's talking about it. And he's like, well, the show is kind of a spin-off of the show Perfect Strangers,
Oh
which we know Larry and Balky
yeah, yeah.
from.
I
I had
didn't
the biggest crush on Bronson Pinchot from that
really.
show.
I didn't realize that
Yes,
connection.
Harriet Winslow, the mother on
Yeah.
Family Matters, she was a small character on Perfect Strangers. I believe she was like the security guard at Larry's work or something like that.
Oh, okay.
But that her character resonated with viewers. So they thought, what if we build a show around her? Because the creator of Family Matters said that the executives at whatever it was, ABC, said that they wanted a show about a black family.
Hmm.
So then, of course, it would make sense to do a show that's attached to a character people already know. So immediately they thought Reginald Bell Johnson would make a good dad.
Hmm.
So to test him, they brought him in for an episode to play Harriet's husband. And he played a cop like he was on Family Matters.
Hmm.
And that performed well. So that's where the show came from. But what rubbed me the wrong way is you have this white guy talking about, yeah, the executives at ABC, they wanted a black show. So they asked us to do it. And it's just like, so they asked this white man.
Of course they did, because
And that's how they always
there
did
were
it.
no black people in his
Right.
position. Yeah.
Exactly. But it just like hearing him say it, he didn't even, because sometimes you get um white people in Hollywood who were making decisions back in the day, and now that we have more an awareness of how there hasn't been equality, a lot of these people now talk about it in a way where they say like, I wish I would have XYZ. And so it kind of took me off guard that this guy just was very like, yeah, they just wanted this show, and so we did this, and it's like no acknowledgement that like you craft like you had no business.
Right.
we couldn't find someone
Right.
with a melanin to at least like, but that was a favorite of mine growing up.
Same. Yep.
Um, I I saw a story I thought you might find funny. I'm going to read you the headline. Um, a woman crashes her SUV into a Popeyes after her order was missing the biscuits.
Ooh. She was distracted.
so
Oh my god.
so this woman Belinda Miller in Augusta, Georgia, I'm going to read this little snippet. Just after 7:45 p.m. Saturday, Richmond County Sheriff's deputies responded to the chicken restaurant in Augusta for an accident with injuries. The Popeyes manager told deputies Miller drove her SUV into the east entrance after she became upset that her order did not have any biscuits, according to the incident report. The manager told authorities Miller's order was corrected and she received her biscuits prior to the incident, but Miller was still, quote unquote, not happy.
Oh.
Prior to the incident, the manager said the woman made several threats to the staff, even calling and threatening to drive her car into the building
Oh, so she was going through it today.
on some
Okay. Yeah.
biscuits.
Well,
Now,
there
I like Popeyes
I do
and the
too.
biscuits are good,
Hmm.
but I'm not going to crash the Audi over some biscuits.
Or some sweet heat.
And the sweet heats, which they are so stingy with.
I know, it's so bizarre.
They, Popeyes, if you're out there, is,
I
I
need more
mean,
than one packet of sauce of any kinds.
for like 3 tenders, I need more than one pack of sweet heat. You know, I think you should get at least a packet per tender.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah,
crazy.
a packet per tender. Yeah,
They're
that
so
should be that should be the ratio. Okay.
And it's like I can understand if you're a franchise and like the owner is there and like they're trying to manage supply, but sometimes it'll just be like an hourly employee who does. Why do you care about these sauce
Why do you
packs?
care? And also, don't they know the demand is high? Can't you just have more available?
Give me the sauce I need.
Can't you just can you give it to me in something I can squirt it out into so you don't have this packet issue? I don't know.
You know, since we moved to this new house, we used to live right next to a Popeyes.
We did, and they had fluctuations in their grade levels.
Yes. They weren't always grade A, so we would stay away. But now that we don't live near one, I haven't had Popeyes.
Yeah,
I
it's been
haven't
a
had
minute.
Popeyes in over a year.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
I don't even know where there is a Popeyes near us.
Now their shrimps don't impress me usually, but I do like their
You
sides
do like Del Taco shrimps when they have them.
when they have them. That's rare. I haven't eaten there in years though.
We almost ate there last night.
I know it
But
was.
it was not. It was 8 o'clock and the dining room was closed.
Mhm.
Del Taco, if you're out there, I don't understand how the dining room was
Del
closed.
Taco in Ladera Heights, or where were we? Westchester.
We were in Westchester by the airport, across from Truxton's.
Should have just gone Truxton.
But our intention was to go to my favorite Mexican restaurant in LA. So if you're listening, Paco's Tacos in Westchester, you can send us a gift card in the PO box. But
I wish they'd remodel inside.
it is a little dated, but that food
Oh, it's good.
is
Yeah.
so good. We were going to sit down after I picked you up from the airport, but there was a wait.
A 15-minute wait, and we're like, nah.
No, this is America. What is this? Eastern Europe? I'm not
What?
waiting
It's-
15 minutes to eat my favorite food. And then we take our asses to Del Taco and they're closed. So we end up going to
what was that place called? The Nug.
there's this phenomenon I feel with Postmates and Uber Eats and Grubhub where there are restaurants masquerading as like more interesting establishments,
Mhm.
but it's really like some hole in the wall.
Mhm.
And some of these restaurants have like 3 different businesses in them.
Yeah.
So there's a restaurant right on the corner from where we live that is now 2 different kinds of restaurants.
Mhm.
And when you go on like Uber Eats, it looks like really fancy, but it's just this damn hole in the wall. And they have one restaurant inside that's Mexican
Mhm.
and another that's like called Nug
Yeah.
something, where they sell chicken nuggets and cauliflower nuggets.
Mhm.
So we tried it out. The food was good,
Yeah.
if not a little overpriced.
as most things are, but yeah, it was fine. It was just a strange experience.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, if someone wants to send us Popeyes, we'll eat it too. Okay, now you can tell us about Berlin.
What do you want to know?
Well, you stayed in your usual hotel,
Yeah.
which is in the area that's near. I've only been once, and I stayed in that hotel,
Potsdamer Platz.
and that's where all the things happen.
Well, they've had some problems with theater venues closing, so eventually this festival will be forced to spread out even more than it is now. So I actually had to venture out to a few more venues than I normally would, like outside of the area. But yeah, most things still technically happen in Potsdamer Platz near the Palace.
And this year, there were more people there who you knew than usual.
Yeah, as compared to last year, because last year there were so many restrictions. We had to get tested. The press had to be tested every day.
Oh, so
for
y'all were
COVID.
just raw dogging everything this year.
Oh yeah, there was very few, but so was Cannes this past year. Nobody's really paying attention to that anymore, it seems. But
Were there any memorable encounters? Did you see anyone?
I saw Matt Damon get out of a car. About like people were hooting and hollering at him, and
Did you
like,
scream faggot when you saw him?
No.
Oh, that's what I would do.
F slur. I'd be like, here's an F slur for you. But I laughed because I swear somebody said, thank you, thank you. I'm like, for what? He doesn't even have a film here. What are you thanking him for? Getting out of the car and waving. And then
Maybe he produced something.
I don't know. I didn't bother to check why he might have possibly been there, but he was. And I was, I always get lots of people assume I'm German when I'm there. So, which leads to strange interactions because people just come up and start talking to me, and I'm like, wait, hold on. Then somebody told me I looked like a Berliner, and I said, is that a compliment? And he said, no, you look like a bitch.
You look broke. Listen, y'all can call me anything but broke, okay? Anyway.
But no, it would, I've been going since 2016. Yeah, I love the city. I love the experience. I'm usually always disappointed in what the jury selects to win out of their competition. But
Well, let's talk about the winners.
so Kristen Stewart was the jury president. You know, she's the youngest jury president ever, I think, at any of the three major film festivals. Berlin for
How
certain.
old is she?
She's not. Was she 30 yet?
Let me look it up. Continue.
Anyway, I was shocked when I saw the what won.
She's 32.
Okay, so yeah, she's very young. Uh, this this jury, you handed out some shitty ass awards, I think, compared to what you could have given
So
things
there are
to.
5 awards total?
No, there's like one, two. Not all of them inherently matter to me, but
Well, let's go through the lesser ones that you want to talk about, and we can end with like the best film or something.
okay. Well, I was happy to see that Hélène Louvart, the cinematographer, won for Disco Boy, which is one of my favorites, for the Silver Bear for outstanding artistic contribution. So that's one of the few I really agree with. And then this just is head scratching to me that Angela Shanelek's music won Best Screenplay for a film that ostensibly feels post narrative in all of the most obvious ways. Which is a film that's more fun to talk about than it is to actually sit through. But there, to me, I would have guessed there was no script, and I would have guessed she told those actors not to act in that movie. Anyway,
Ooh.
and I do like her. I loved her past two films, and I was kind of let down by music, but I didn't hate it. But the fact that it won Best Screenplay is such a joke. Anyway, since 2020, they've, you know, Berlin is, I think, the only major film festival that has taken gender out of the acting categories. So instead, they developed a Silver Bear for Best Supporting Performance, and that went to actually a trans actor, Thea Era, for Till the End of the Night, which I really didn't like that film either. But they are the best part of it,
Okay.
I think. So I will give it that, but I didn't like that film. And then the Silver Bear for Best Leading Performance went to a young girl named Sophia Otero for 20,000 Species of Bees, which is the story about a young trans girl that is just coming to discover who she wants to be, which was an okay film. It was very well-meaning. I really liked the actress playing the mom in that, and her clearly lesbian auntie. The Silver Bear for Best Director is equally head scratching. Philip Garel, who is a director I like, won Best Director for The Plow. And boy, I loathed this film, starring three of his children and written by his wife. It
Oh.
is not, I didn't like it. And there was a lot of people that also didn't, but I ran into people that loved it. And clearly this jury did. But it makes no sense that he would win this award for this. And I liked his past three films even. And I mean, he's been around since the 70s at least, if not late 60s. But wow, I head scratching. One thing that I'm glad that did win something, the Silver Bear Jury Prize, basically third place in the competition, went to Joao Canijo for Bad Living, which was a film I did really like. And then I'm not mad at the Silver Bear Grand Jury Prize. So second place went to A Fire by Christian Petzold. I think it's more of a minor Petzold. I overall liked it. I think the lead character is grating. He's supposed to be, but it was kind of unpleasant sometimes. And then Nicolas Philibert comes roaring back into the forefront, winning the Golden Bear for his documentary on the Adamant, who's been around also forever. Very notable documentarian. He might be best known in the U.S. for his one about the orangutan, Nanette. But
Orangutan.
yeah, yes, Venus. But again, fine documentary, very old fashioned, very meaningful in its way and very humane. It deals with this boat called the Adamant in France, where these people can go to that are suffering from all kinds of other mental health ailments, and there are physicians, therapists, psychiatrists that work on this boat, that they can get on and off of every day, that offers all kinds of classes, like music sessions, and they have film groups and just all kinds of interesting activities these people can do, and this has been going on since 2010. Uh, but again, to win the Golden Bear, I just don't know. Yeah. Anyway, so that's my thoughts on the awards. We'll do a separate video for my top 10 favorite and 5 least favorite films.
Oh, you just came up with a number. I didn't tell you 10 and 5.
What I did, I have it.
I'm not gonna do it, girl. I'm not gonna do it. I did
What
it.
were you gonna tell me? What were you gonna allow me to do?
I wasn't going to give a number, and then that way I could just edit the video to what I think makes sense. But that doesn't mean I still can't do it.
You mean you were gonna cut me off? You're gonna let me film and talk and then cut me off? Okay.
I've done it before. Okay, so yeah, so we'll make a video to supplement
It's
what.
gonna be top 10 and least 5 favorites.
So if it ends up being like top 3, people know that I that I cut it
I will report you to the administrators.
to the administrator, to the cat. You're gonna write an email to the
Oh,
cat.
she'll scream so much today.
She will. Um, we did get questions related to last week's podcast, the one where I talked about VIP services, and then we mentioned that you worked at Jubilee Goop, but I did post an image of
Jubilee Goop.
the actual company.
That shithole company that I wish would burn to the ground and still around.
So there were questions about why did I hate working at the front desk and why did you not like working at Jubilee Goop? Do you want to start first?
Because people are trash.
So
Especially
to be clear, you were like a cashier at like a big box retailer.
Did I not say the name?
No, you didn't.
Oh, yeah. In the Republican era America. No, I was also. I started working there when I was 16 as a cashier. I was the fastest in the district, and then I was promoted to, what did they call it at the time? Customer service manager. I was an hourly customer service manager at the age of 18.
18. So this would have been what year?
2003.
And how much did that pay to be a supervisor?
To be a supervisor, I made like at the height of that, I made maybe $12 an hour.
Okay.
But I probably started as a cashier at like 7.
And how you were working full time?
I worked a full 40 hours a week since I was 16. Yeah,
So that's pretty good money for a kid.
for a kid. But I mean, I had to pay for a lot of my own things, so I never had any money,
Oh,
like my
sure.
own car insurance and yeah.
But anyway, you hated it because
I didn't mind it as like a 16 to 18-year-old because I'm from a small town, so I was something of a local celebrity. Like people would line up to have me scan their shit.
you were the fastest
That's how
cashier in the
boring this
district.
area of the world is. Oh my god. But then when I moved to the Twin Cities for college and I transferred, uh, then I really started to hate it because I worked in a kind of a rich suburb of the city's Woodbury, and those people are fucking assholes. And the return policy, and I had to work kind of my way back up there too. The return policy was they take back whatever, no questions asked, but then they would force the employees to ask certain questions. So there's like constant conflict. I almost got fired actually, toward the end. And thankfully I'd lined up another job.
I believe it. I hated working at the front desk for similar reasons. Like people are awful.
Mm-hmm.
Specifically, like I would have so much anxiety over two things. One, because I had the shittiest shifts, I'd work graveyard, and that's when we would So hotels always oversell,
Mm-hmm.
not unlike airlines, right? Because we expect there to be a certain amount of cancellations, no shows, reschedules, and the goal is to always be fully booked. So we would always oversell a certain percentage. But there were those nights when everyone showed up,
Mm-hmm.
and then we'd have to find other accommodations.
Mm-hmm.
And as we know, being living in this fine nation, anytime someone who's expecting a service doesn't get what they think they're supposed to get, it just becomes like you've ruined everything.
Mm-hmm.
I need to be compensated. And it's like, well, we're giving you a free hotel room somewhere else because we don't have room here, and we're giving you your money back.
Which is a pretty good deal.
So you're getting a pretty good, and judging by your shoes and how outgrown your highlights are, you could use this money. So that was always really scary because the people who worked during the day didn't have to deal with that.
Mm-hmm.
It was the day fools who gave away all the rooms,
Right.
which makes sense that you would give out to
Who
who's
comes
there.
first? Yeah.
So yeah, I would have so much anxiety. And then the part that would always frustrate me is like event weekends where it was always the same. 4 straight dudes come, book 1 room, request 2 beds, and then they get there at because they're driving from LA to Vegas is where the hotel is. So they don't get there till like midnight, 1 a.m. because they drive after work and traffic's horrible. So all the rooms are gone.
Mm-hmm.
So we only have rooms with one bed, and you have these these four college dudes. And it's like, well, you only put down that you needed there were only two people in the room.
So why
So
would
two
we?
people can sleep in one bed. And that's where I couldn't count on all my fingers and toes the number of times I get called a faggot in one night. I'm not saying in my career in the hotel. I mean, in one night when we'd have to explain, like, well,
Mm-hmm.
two people in a room is reasonable in one bed. Well, there are four of us. Well, there is the opportunity to say there are four of you. You just have to pay extra. And then we would assure that you have bedding,
Mm-hmm.
because there are people who paid extra. So those are the people who got the two beds. Oh my God. That alone was like, and then everyone wants to tell you like how this is a special trip for them and they want a room with the
Well,
view and upgrade. And it's like everyone wants
you
something,
should have planned accordingly and
and you
paid for
can
that up
pay for
front.
what you want.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not rich, but I always feel like if I can't do something how I want to do it, then I'm not going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to go fly somewhere and not have the kind of accommodations that would make me comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to like go go on some, I'm not going to do anything that I can't afford to do the way I want to do it. Then it's
Mm-hmm.
not meant for me.
Yeah.
So it's like you can't. The other thing is, like, just like flights, you went on the internet, and this is in the early 2000s. You went on the interwebs and got on Expedia or Priceline and literally searched for the cheapest thing you could find. And then you get there and you want the 5-star upgrade. You didn't pay for that. You did not pay for that. You paid for the cheapest thing you could find. The hotel I worked in wasn't the cheapest hotel in Vegas. It was like in the middle, but still, you booked the least expensive thing you could find.
Mm-hmm.
You can't. Yeah, that mentality of wanting something for free and really, really bothers me, because I
Same.
always think there are people who actually planned accordingly. There are
Mm-hmm.
people who actually followed the rules and paid for the third person. That person should get the extra bed.
Mm-hmm.
They were honest. They knew they were traveling with their kid or three guys who didn't want to have to sleep in one bed. So why should you four assholes get it? Oh my God, it was every night.
Mm-hmm.
Every night. I couldn't wait to get out of that front desk.
I didn't get called the F slur that many times as you probably did, but I did get called it a fair amount working. Well, it was Sam's Club that I'm talking about in 2004 or five. Because anytime I said no, and I got to love being able to say that as infrequently as it was possible for me to do so, I immediately would be called a faggot. Like,
I did get called the N word a few times, but I got called monkey a lot,
damn.
like faggot monkey, and
My
which is
God, what?
which I think is what prompted me to get surgery on my ears. Now, like, it just hit me that I think that's probably why I always thought my ears looked big, was that I would get called monkey a lot. I mean, I like how my ears look now. I don't ever actually, I shouldn't say I don't ever think about how my ears look, but um yeah.
You don't think they were just being fucking racist assholes?
No, they were, but I,
Right, like, but without any.
I remember
You think that they
thinking,
were brilliant enough to make some kind of
sure,
allusion to your
yes,
ears?
sure, yeah. I mean, you're right, but I think it just sort of fed into me thinking, oh, my ears are really big, and that's why that's like people's go-to.
No, they're just racist.
Or like saying the N word is too much. Somebody's gonna call you
Yeah.
these other two awful things, but
Wow.
anyway, we need to take a break. Okay, films released we didn't cover. Something called Jesus Revolution.
Oh my God, I've actually seen this.
Oh,
Um,
oh, is it like propaganda?
it feels like
Is
it.
that the one you were telling me about a
Yes.
while back?
Yeah, because I saw. I hadn't. I was paid to see this film, but yeah, starring Kelsey Grammer. It's directed by
Yeah, that's right.
John Irvin and Brian McCorkle, and it's about this hippie Jesus movement in the 1970s, marrying kind of this old school religion type with this man that looks like he's trying to be Jesus, lead the sheep of the blah blah blah. Anyway, it was this came out this past weekend, and if you saw it, I believe that only a certain type of people will probably see this film, because I don't know who else would say yes. Let me watch this.
Something called Mummies.
It's an animated film. I know Sean Bean does a voice, directed by Juan Jesus Garcia Galorca. Um, And that's all I know about it.
Bruiser.
This looked pretty good. It's a directorial debut by Miles Warren on Hulu, and it stars Trevante Rhodes and Shamir Anderson, who are both actors I quite like. Um, I think about the effects of abuse and between fathers and sons, but it sounds really good.
God's Time.
We have a screener for this, but because of Berlin, we didn't get to it. Directed by Daniel Entebbe. I think it's about a young woman who's trying to get revenge on an ex.
I think we received several messages about the movie Luther, the Fallen Son.
Yeah, Netflix. I think it got a theatrical release this past weekend, but it'll be on their streaming service March 10th. It's a sequel to Luther, where Idris Elba plays a detective. He's joined in this one by Cynthia Erivo. I think it has something to do with a serial killer, directed by Jamie Payne. But that does sound interesting.
My Happy Ending.
Andy McDowell leads this film, directed by Tal Granite and Sharon Mayman. It also stars Mariam Margolyes and Tom Collins.
Mariam Margolyes.
Isn't that her name?
That's how it's spelled here, but that's interesting.
Isn't that her? Doesn't that how you say
I
her
don't
name?
know.
You do know. What's her name? Did her on Drag Race for? You know this person.
Mariam
Is it
Margolyes.
Margolis? Am I saying her name wrong?
Uh,
She's a little lesbian.
let's.
Margolis? Or did I write it down wrong? Anyway, I know who that is.
Okay, maybe you wrote it down incorrectly. I don't know. Next, The Quiet Girl.
From Ireland. It was nominated for Best International Feature. Not that I have a problem with it getting nominated. I'm just curious that this is what made it through.
Oh yeah, that lady. Her name is Miriam. Oh, it's Miriam Margolyes.
Oh,
So a little bit of a typo, but
anyway, directed by Colm Byreed. Probably saying that wrong too because Irish. Not anyway. It was good. I've watched it before, but we didn't cover it.
Lastly, we have a ghost.
Christopher Landon, son of Michael, still directing all kinds of films.
Is he the homosexual?
Yeah. Well, his dad was. I don't know if he is. He might be too, actually.
Oh.
Wasn't that the thing? Little House on the Prairie guy. He was gay, right?
I don't know about Michael Landon. I thought his son was though.
Oh.
I don't know.
Why did I think Michael Landon was gay?
I don't want to out people now. Continue. Well, too late.
No, I'm pretty sure he. Anyway, Anthony Mackie, Jennifer Coolidge. Yeah, it came out on Netflix, and I would watch that. And notably, his next film supposedly is his Arachnophobia remake.
Oh, that sounds fun.
Mm-hmm.
Projects of interest. PTA.
Paul Thomas Anderson has a new film that he's.
I thought it was about Parent Teacher Association.
No, but P.T. Anderson. It's apparently is about the current state of the Republican Party because he's trying to cast somebody to play Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Ugh,
so I hope it's somebody really nasty and stupid because that's what they would need to be able to tap into to play that person.
Oh boy,
Leonardo.
Comments.
I don't give a fuck. That woman can go to hell.
Wow.
But I don't believe in hell. So
we're
just cast her into oblivion.
We're spiraling. Okay, go ahead.
That woman is disgusting. Anyway, Leonardo DiCaprio apparently is going to be attached.
Okay, well, there you go. Movies watched for fun. There aren't that many because you were at a festival.
Yeah.
I did watch 3 movies, though.
Tell us.
I watched the 2023 BET Plus original Under His Influence.
Oh.
Directed by someone named Deshaun Hardy.
We know who that is.
We do?
Yeah, we've watched Deshaun Hardy's films.
What?
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, uh-huh.
What did we watch of his?
That Dear Best Friend or whatever. And something about that little girl.
Oh, you know what?
His film right before Dear Best Friend. What was that called?
Oh my
God. A Gift for Jessica or something.
The Lake on Clinton Road.
No, it's something.
Dwellers, the Coast of Pastors, the Curse of Pastor Still. Oh, A Message for Brianna.
A Message for Brianna. Yeah. What did I say?
You know what? I have to say, Under His Influence was definitely a notch up from
Dear
Best Friend.
Okay, good.
I feel like if Tyler Perry can be a billionaire, I believe Deshaun Hardy should. Because at least he's talking about more real things.
Sure.
Anyway, Under His Influence stars some people you know, like Cynthia Bailey from Real Housewives of Atlanta.
I know her. I know who that is.
Lamont Rucker, who we know
Why
from
Did I
Why
Get
Did I Get
Married? And
Married?
Greenleaf, right?
And Greenleaf,
Mhm.
that's right. Uh, Michael Michelle. Do you remember this actor? Her?
Yeah.
That lady is stunning.
Yeah, she is.
And she still looks, I mean, she's aged grace. Like it looks like she hasn't had any work done. She's beautiful. Um, but anyway, this movie is about this rich girl who's like a Kardashian to like social media person.
Mhm.
And she gets into some trouble. Like she gets into a DUI. She gets a DUI and like everyone's dragging her. And then all of a sudden she gets a DM from some guy in prison. And he's saying he was falsely convicted of murder. He's serving a life sentence. He would love for her to sort of expose his case and get him some help. So she does. She spends her own money. Michael Michelle plays the family lawyer and uh, get him off.
Mhm.
But then, of course, there's this thriller aspect to it where like something isn't quite right, and we find out that the convicted murderer who's been exonerated actually did kill the person, and we know that because there was a witness to the murder, and they come forward. But the writing is terrible. It sounds
Mhm.
like there was no one who has a law degree who consulted on this.
Sure, probably not.
But I actually, I mean, it was late at night, and I when I put it on, and I was engaged. It's silly.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I would definitely, now that you have explained to me that I've watched 3 of his films,
Mhm.
I would definitely watch the next one because you know there will. I mean, he's made 3 films in the last like year, so
Yeah, he's just pooping those out. Okay.
well, good for him.
Sure.
Good for him.
Mhm.
A black man out here making movies, and I mean, if they're, you know, movies serve a number of purposes, but you know, entertainment is one, and
Mhm.
I was laughing and I was with it. Next, I watched Cocaine Bear.
Oh, yeah, which I've seen already.
So people were asking, like, what do I think about it? I would give it 3 out of 5. I thought it was good. The star of the show is the Ranger.
Margot Martindale, yeah.
She, the movie needed to be about her.
Mhm.
The movie needed to be about her, this park ranger who is discovering all these murders, and I didn't need Carrie Russell at all.
Sure, yeah.
Like that lady just dragged it down, and those kids. I thought the kids were super cute,
Mhm.
but like I would have given up the kids, the paramedics, the the even O'Shea Jackson and Alden Ehrenreich,
Ehrenreich,
who I
mhm.
like.
Mhm.
I would have given all of them up just to have Margot Martindale and Jesse Tyler Ferguson in that wig running around trying to like figure out what these bears are doing. So
But, I mean, the action scenes were pretty damn good. Like, what about with, like, speaking of Margot when she dies
yeah,
in that ambulance that shows up
yeah,
is
yeah. There are moments I think it's funny,
Mhm.
like it's humorous. The rhythm of it is consistent, but I think the laughs there are consistent. I feel like the frequency of the humor, those moments where there wasn't humor, were a little too long and a little too consistent.
Okay.
So uh, my overall thought when I left the movie was that I would never watch it again. Like it wasn't funny enough to have me watch it again.
Okay.
So for that, I give it 3. I would definitely recommend it if you think you're interested. And for being such a silly premise, it's better than you would think.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, it just seems kind of crazy that they had such an amazing character in Margot Martindale and they didn't think like, let's just so, like, sorry, Carrie, you can take your money and it's pay for play, whatever, or whatever they call it. Like, you can just go
Mhm.
home because she's just so strong
Yeah, I agree.
that I just anytime she wasn't on screen, I also really liked the little hoodlum who O'Shea and
Oh, yeah,
Alden.
yeah.
I thought he was
He
cute
was cute.
and him trying to talk to all.
Hey, what about Isaiah Whitlock Jr.?
He was okay. I
Mhm.
thought him with the dog and the thing, like right, he's the
Sure, yeah.
sheriff guy. I thought he was cute, but again, like him with his like the other police officer, and that just felt like we don't need any of this.
Ray Liotta?
Can we get back to Margot? I mean, of course, I like Ray Liotta, but yeah, it's worth a watch.
Mhm.
But I
Yeah.
don't think it's like a comedic masterpiece or
Sure, but I
anything.
still had fun with it, so I don't know.
Lastly, I watched a film called Other People, which I didn't look up.
with Jesse Plemons and Molly
Do you know
Shannon.
who directed it?
Off the top of my head, I don't. I saw that
Here,
at Sundance in what 2015.
it's directed by Chris Kelly.
Is that a 2014 or 15 movie?
This is saying
Oh
2016.
damn.
So you
Okay.
probably saw it in 2015.
No, I saw it at that Sundance that year. I think it was the opening night film.
Yeah, Molly Shannon, Jesse Plemons. I so a friend of ours really likes it, so I watched it with him, and it's an emotional movie. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't cry as much as I thought I would, because I think Molly Shannon is a mother dying of cancer, and her son Jesse Plemons comes back because now he's like they think he's like a successful writer in New York, but his pilot, like a TV writer, but his pilot doesn't get picked up, and they also think he's in a relationship, but he has actually broken up with his
Mm-hmm.
partner, but he didn't want to tell anyone because he didn't want to stress out the mom, and he wants his mom to know that he'll be okay.
Mm-hmm.
So there were moments when I was emotional, but Molly Shannon brings so much to the role.
Mm-hmm.
She does a fantastic job, but her humor, it's just that face. It just
Sure.
makes you want to smile. So I mean, it's great casting because it definitely was a relief that I wasn't just laying there. If it would have been a different actor, I think it would have just been a sob fest.
Sure.
But she's so good at kind of breaking that tension.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
But
agree.
and then I think whomever did the hair and makeup, like they do it for what I'm assuming was a small budget, especially making her look, um, going from looking healthy and happy to sick. They did a very good job. And Jesse Plemons is a cute,
He's did a really good job too.
yeah. And it's speaking of like non-gay act, I'm assuming he's not
No,
gay
he's married to
because,
Kirsten Dunst.
but he
Well,
yeah,
assuming.
he I thought he really, and then his friend and them like being on Grinder
Mm-hmm.
or OK Cupid or something. I thought it was all very. It felt very like personal.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm assuming Chris Kelly, like this is probably based on something he experienced, maybe.
Yeah, that sounds right. I haven't read about it in a long time, but yeah.
Okay, you watched something called Munich.
Something called it's the one not that Steven Spielberg won the honorary Golden Bear, so they had the homage section that they have annually. So he got to pick a bunch of his films to screen out of his filmography, and this was one of them. And I'd never seen it, so I went to see Munich, my second to last night, which is nearly 3 hours, but I thought was pretty interesting. And I think maybe the last 15 minutes don't feel as strong as the whole, but I thought it was quite captivating.
And then you watched You've Got Mail.
Oh God. I was already exhausted by the time I got on that flight on my way home. And this was all I managed to watch. And then I passed out for most of the rest of the flight. But this was an obnoxious film. I didn't realize it's basically a remake of The Shop Around the Corner, which is like a classic Czech film. But uh, I can at 1998 with it just feels so it's so dated in so many ways, but I think what's more dated even than the technological um, capabilities of email at the time were that these two characters fall in love are both bookstore owners. Like he's this
Meg Ryan and Tom Hanks are
Meg Ryan
books.
owns this small bookstore called the Shop Around the Corner, and he's basically building it's called Fox Superstore, but it's basically Barnes and Noble. Comes
Oh,
in New York, is built around the corner, and then of course puts her right out of business. But they've also been corresponding online uh, as strangers that are in love with that aspect of each other's persona.
oh God.
Nora Ephron, I, it's been a minute since I've really watched a Meg Ryan comedy, like a rom com, because she was like Julia Roberts was America's sweetheart in the '90s, and I don't see the appeal. I just don't. Especially when she's trying to be cutesy. And I find Tom Hanks so fucking milk toast. The only magic in this film are the wonderful, vibrant people that Hollywood always keeps relegated to the sidelines, like Parker Posey or Dave Chappelle, who immediately when they're on screen, I'm like, oh, please give me more of these people. But I really didn't like it.
There is an entry in the obituary section. Barbara Bosson.
Yeah, who I'm not really that familiar with, but was in a lot of big television stuff in the '80s, including Hill Street Blues. But she was 83.
Let's take another break before we get to the secret film. Today's secret film was part of a poll we did 3 weeks ago
Mm-hmm.
for Black female directors.
Mm-hmm.
So we made videos for 4 of the 5 films,
Mhm.
which were Eve's Bayou,
Mhm.
Just Another Girl on the IRT, Down in the Delta,
Mhm.
The Watermelon Woman,
Mhm.
and the 5th film we didn't make a video for because we thought we would do a podcast, and that film is the
91.
1991 independent film written, directed, and produced by Julie Dash called Daughters of the Dust.
Yes.
So you had seen this film before.
Yep. I think I reviewed the Blu-ray when it came out, I want to say.
I had not seen it. I'm going to read the basic or the log line. A languid God, a languid impressionistic story of 3 generations of Gullah women living on the South Carolina Sea Islands in 1902. So
Ebo Landing, 1902.
there's a community of Black Africans
Mhm.
who occupied a region, I believe, like from North Carolina down to like some part in Florida on the
Mhm.
coast. Sometimes it was like coastal area. There are small islands off the coast that they occupied, and basically it's just a group of people who sort of maintained a lot of the African traditions
Yeah, because they were isolated.
because they were isolated. Um, and this film tells the story of one family. The story is very simple. We have this group of people. There is a matriarch who, we're told is like great grandmother.
Nana Pesant.
Her family, some of them want to leave.
A
They're
great a
saying
great deal of them, yeah.
to go up north to sort of have a better life. And then, of course, she doesn't want them to leave. There are some members who do want to stay, but like you mentioned, most want to leave. And then we actually have one former member who comes back.
Yellow Mary.
Yellow Mary with her girlfriend, so appears to be a lesbian. Um,
Which was giving me Lestat and Louis from Interview with the Vampire vibes.
mm, it's very simple. Everyone kind of does what they wanted to do. The people who wanted to leave, leave. The ones who wanted to stay, stay. And then Yellow Mary decides to stay, and then her girlfriend runs off because, of course, she doesn't want to be there. The
Well,
end.
and also grappling with like new versus old religions
Oh,
and customs and traditions.
there's so much. I was saying, I mean, I think a few things. I think this could be like a college course, like this movie, and then discussing like just so many themes. It's so rich, the
hmm
story, that I think, if for no other reason, watching it, that I'd recommend watching it for that. I also had written down that I think if there's ever been a movie that deserves like a reboot or like being made into a miniseries, this would be it, because there's just so much history there, and every character in the film, has their own POV.
hmm
My critique of the film would be that I think it's a little too busy. Like, I wish we would have just focused on one character and her relationship to this community and how she
Sure.
wants to leave. But instead, we have like, I mean, we're focusing on like 6 different
And then
people
it's narrated by the unborn child
of one of
of
them.
Eula and Eli. Yeah.
Yeah, who is a woman who was sexually assaulted by a white man,
hmm
and it was never
Oh
verified.
wait, no,
But
it's Iona's kid. Sorry, Eula's the one that was
oh, you're right,
assaulted.
right,
Yeah.
yeah. So there are a number of characters, and I think they're all so interesting, and their perspective would be so interesting. But because we have to deal with all of them, I think the filmmaker did a good job with the resources and the time they had.
I don't think we also stated that Julie Dash this is her debut, premiered at Sundance in that year where it won an award for best cinematography by Arthur Jaffa. Uh, was the first uh, film directed by a black woman to receive theatrical release in this country.
That's right.
So it's a pillar of the culture in that regard itself, which is a ton of weight to have on
The
something. But
film is beautiful to look at. It inspired Beyonce's Lemonade visual
mhm.
album. Like, yeah, it's beautiful to look at. I think the story is so rich. I think the writing is impressive.
I agree. I like the vibe of it quite a bit. The cinematography, as I said, but also John Barnes, the score. It's got this like funky electro synth score that I really
Yeah,
like.
I like the score as well.
Because it helps, and it's got a lot of scenes that are kind of in slow motion as you see them at certain rituals, whether they're playing games or whether some of the young girls are being taught like how to behave. Like there's this one scene where they're practicing sitting in a chair. It's kind of hypnotic.
I don't have many notes. I just kind of had a lot of feelings about the different themes. So there's one moment where the great grandmother, one of her children is talking to her, and he's the guy whose wife was raped by the white man.
Yeah, Eli. So that's Eula was the rape one.
So Eli's talking to great grandmother, and he basically, it represents that moment when we realize like all the things we believed in are bullshit,
Hmm.
basically. So he's telling his great grandmother, like, or what is her name again?
Nana Pisant.
Pazan, Nana Pazan. He's telling her, like, I thought you could protect us. Like, you do all this, like, hoodoo and
Hmm.
you carry all these bones and make us do all this, and it didn't help. And he's upset, rightfully so.
Hmm.
And I just thought that was such a powerful moment. Like, that moment when we realized that, like, yeah, the things we believed in are bullshit. Um, so I think my favorite character in the film is Yellow
Oh,
Mary.
same. Yeah, played by
She
Barbara O.
She's so intriguing. I mean,
Hmm.
like you said, it's almost like Interview of a Vampire vibes. Like she's so intriguing and mysterious, and it's like I just want to. She gives little snippets of maybe what she's experienced, but it's just like, oh, the entire movie could have been about her,
Hmm.
and because her wanting to come back makes sense. I mean, it alludes to the life she must have led that made her flee back to this more simple way of life.
Hmm.
But it's just I'm begging to know like specifics and details, and the actor gives such a strong performance. And then her girlfriend is this younger woman who's beautiful. She's fair skinned,
Hmm.
but I think it's funny that they call yellow. And another character also says this, that Yellow Mary is not. I mean, she's pretty. She has a
Pretty,
rich skin tone, so it's
yeah, to be
funny.
called Yella,
So
yeah.
it's funny that she's being called Yellow Mary, but yeah, she was definitely my favorite character, and she connects with Eula, the woman who was raped,
Mhm.
because the community is very nasty towards Yellow Mary because of her experiences, calling her like
A
basically like
shameless hussy.
a hussy, a whore. And then at one point towards the end, Eula, the woman who was raped and who is currently pregnant, she tells the group like, y'all talking about her, so then what are you saying about me? And again, I thought that was very powerful.
Pretty good, powerful speech too, because she's also talking about how there was never truly a what's the word she used? Not like a true woman, but a pure woman,
A pure woman.
because
Yeah.
basically all this historical trauma, like their mothers and their grandmothers weren't allowed to be pure because they were all raped and pillaged and tortured.
Yes. Yeah. Something a little more light was we get a scene where I believe it's the narrator explaining how they all have like funny names.
Mhm. Goober and
Yeah, like Eudora, Iodora. She's like, we even have a Pete and a repeat. But it goes on for quite some time, and I thought that was really cute. Um, Something else, like again, this would be. I mean, I would, if there's some community center class on this movie talking about the different themes, I would definitely attend, because I think when it comes to religion
Mhm.
and how there's like this split between like the great grandmother Nana Pazant, who they call it like hoodoo, and
Mhm.
versus like they are reading the Bible and believe in that.
And then there's Viola, who's left and come back, who's a born again Christian.
And it's just so funny to me that they are more prone to, and of course they didn't know this, but it's like you're adopting this dogma that the white man has brought to you versus, I mean, I don't believe in either, but it's like if I had to choose, I'd probably be with Nana Pazant. Like, well, at least what she's talking about is more about the land and where they are, and a lot of like they make it very personal. Like a lot of the stuff she does, like you need to take a lock of your hair and do this. Like it's all very sort of individualized, and
But well, that's why I thought I was reading as Hagar as the one that's kind of rejecting both, because she says I'm an educated woman and not,
oh, I really like that
yeah,
character.
like
Yeah.
neither of these things work.
And how
So
she doesn't want to raise her kids in this
mhm,
environment. So I thought that was so fascinating. Like just this intersection of, because it's also the early 1900s. So the conditions for Black people in America are not great, even though
Well, yeah,
the slave trade and slavery should have ended.
there's
It's
this feeling of dread about, like, where they where the
as the
amount.
audience, I'm
Yeah.
scared. Like, yeah, I mean, like you might be safer where you are, and so yeah, very powerful.
It reminded me of a couple films that came out this year, including Descendant from Margaret Brown, the documentary about the last slave ship. That's You didn't watch that with me, but this notion of that this slave trade was still happening even though it was made illegal 50 years before the Civil War. But I was thinking of that, and this notion of this specific ancestry based on certain logistics, and also Banshees of Inisherin. I
Oh,
kept thinking of
sure.
these people isolated on this remote island, well, that some of whom are kind of dying there and need to go to the mainland.
It's also interesting how we really only see the perspective of the women, and they seem like the ones more motivated to either make a change or maintain their way of life. We don't really hear from the men.
Which is funny you say that, because this is how I wanted women talking to feel.
Oh, yeah. Actually, if like how people were drooling over women talking, I feel like this is what I was expecting.
Yeah.
Um, because even like, yeah, yeah, that's a good example.
But yeah, so I think it's very much ahead of its time in a lot of ways. But um, yeah, and again, I don't know. I feel like if you know cinema, if you know black cinema, this is very well known. But outside of that, Julie Dash, like a lot of women, Ava DuVernay brought together for Queen Sugar, has directed several episodes of that, but she hasn't done a lot of other films. Some TV stuff. She did the Rosa Parks story with Angela Bassett. Um, I think she didn't. Her next major thing after Daughters of the Dust was directing the music video for "Give Me One Reason" by Tracy Chapman.
Oh,
So like it's just interesting to see that there's this landmark film, and then the filmmaker herself, of course, has had kind of, I'm sure, had to cobble together
hmm,
other
a
opportunities.
career.
Yeah.
Well, that's all I have. I would highly recommend checking it out. And also for people who, like me, sometimes are afraid to watch certain stories because I don't want to be traumatized. This is not that kind of
No,
film.
it is very languid, kind of even surreal a bit.
But they're in a bubble. They're not
Yeah,
dealing with any white people. I mean, there is talk of abuse, but it's,
it's off screen. The rape is off screen. Yeah.
yeah. So it really is just about these people deciding like how they see their futures. What would you give it?
3.5.
Okay, I think I said 3 out of 5. Um, so so you are going out of town again next week. That
Yeah.
being said, we are going to have a live video next Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
The theme will be Raquel Welch. So we
Because
have
she
to
died.
because she done died.
So we're gonna do some B-sides
So yeah,
from the 70s. Her
so
most
don't ask me about what's her most popular movie.
probably is it Myra Breckenridge?
No, it's the one where she's wearing the two-piece
Oh,
fur.
10,000
Yeah.
BC, which
Yeah.
I've never seen actually.
Oh, maybe we should put that on the list.
I don't know.
Actually, we will put it
No,
on the list.
people are gonna
Or
vote for
what's
that
the
then.
one with Myra Breckenridge? Myra Breckenridge is with
Mae
Mae
West.
West.
I love Myra
That's such a
Breckenridge.
good movie.
But
And I don't know what she's done. Did she do anything in like the 2000s?
she she was in How to Be a Latin Lover.
We should put the two-piece fur movie and Myra Breckenridge, but and we'll see what people want.
Oh, you want? Oh, well, I think people pick one of those.
Well, that's fine because you haven't seen one, and the other one we know is fun.
That's true.
Um,
But like for Mother Jugs and Speed with Bill Cosby,
oh, that one sounds good to me
Hanny
too.
Caldwell, that Western she's headlining. Um,
We put those. We'll see.
we'll see. Okay.
But yeah, you're gonna be gone.
Bedazzled. She's in the original Bedazzled.
Oh God. Um,
Oh, while I was in Berlin, I read Berlin Stories, a collection of works by Robert Walzer, who was an author I hadn't been familiar with before. But from 1907 to 1917, he was Swiss. He was in Berlin and uh, wrote all kinds of stuff that were published in magazines that were assembled that I thought were very fitting to read there. But I was struck because I didn't know anything about him while I was reading this collection, about how hopeful and also how very sad he seems sometimes in his descriptions of some things about just living this life in this urban city on the edge of modernity. But
hmm.
come to find, I was like, oh, what? he ended up in a sanitarium in the 30s.
Oh.
But the person who wrote the foreword for this is apparently writing his biography. But I'm curious to read more of what he wrote because I really liked kind of his sense of humanity and how he felt connected to his environment. But it didn't surprise, like the sadness that's inherent in a lot of it too. I thought was very striking. It
Hmm.
resonated with me. Uh, and then I started reading the exact opposite, Hubert Selby Jr.'s last novel. Published in 2004 called Waiting Period, about this just depressed suicidal man that wants to buy a handgun, but there's a computer glitch, so it's delayed. And in that period of several days delay, he decides he doesn't want to kill himself, but the people that have wronged him.
Oh.
So,
Well.
Hubert Selby Jr. Wrote Requiem for a Dream, Last Exit to Brooklyn. He's that kind of a writer.
Hmm. Well, a few weeks ago, I mentioned how much I like a podcast I discovered called Diagnosing Sitcoms and Movies. It's two Black women who are licensed therapists who basically um, review sort of films and television shows popular to Black culture or relevant,
Mm-hmm.
haven't had an impact. And not only do they review them, but they also like diagnose some characters,
Mm-hmm.
which is super, super fascinating. But I guess enough people told them that we had said that, or that I had said I liked it,
Mm-hmm.
that they invited us to be on their podcast.
Which is exciting.
So I'm excited about that. And we get to choose the movie. So if people have suggestions, they can definitely let us know. The criteria is that it's something with a predominantly Black cast that has had an impact on the culture,
Mm-hmm.
and it's preferably a little more, not vintage per se, but
Has some years on it.
years have passed, right?
Mm-hmm.
To give it enough time to have that impact. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't know that you can be something from 2022 and have impacted the culture,
Right.
but yeah. So I'm excited about that, and for people who haven't checked out their podcast, I would definitely do it.
Mm-hmm.
The DSM podcast, diagnosing sitcoms and movies. Uh, but that's it. We're not seeing anything this coming week because you won't be
Because I'll be
here.
gone. So we'll have no Creed 3 review.
That's fine. I didn't watch. I
You,
think I saw Creed.
you
I,
haven't seen the other two?
that year that I was in San Francisco, I feel like Creed 2 was on like, or one of the Creed 1 or Creed 2 was on like HBO, like the hotel I would always stay in.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be like one of the movies that was always on.
Mm-hmm.
And I still don't think I finished it. I
Okay.
would just watch like 5 minutes here, 5 minutes.
I like the first one. I didn't much care for Creed 2.
I have
but...
zero interest in watching any Creed movie.
Oh, well, there you go.
And that's the only big release this week.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, but we will have 2 or 3 videos come out well, at least 2.
Sure.
Yeah. So it won't be bare. Do you have anything else you want to say?
No.
All right. Toodaloo.